hi-yo.
Welcome.
Whoa. Everybody,
Apologies.
take a sip.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
That water is really tasty.
That is some high-quality H2O.
Welcome, everybody, to Beyond the Basement, the complete
Attack on Titan.
podcast.
That's supposed to be Rachel Slime.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to do it, too.
Welcome,
No, you
everybody,
weren't. I
to
knew you weren't.
Beyond the Basement, the complete
Attack on Titan.
Podcast.
There we go. All right, so we'll rehearse that for next time. This is episode 32, also known as season 2, episode 7, Close Combat. So, I'm one of your hosts. If you haven't noticed before, they call me Eric. They call this guy.
They call me Peter occasionally.
They call her.
I'm Rachel.
And guess who's back?
Guess who's back? Guess who's back?
Guess who's back?
I'm Daniel.
Hey, Daniel-san.
He said I was the
Daniel-san?
no the guest that is.
Oh,
I'm the what kind of guest?
what? The special guest?
Yeah, just like my mom used to say.
Yeah.
He
I'm
is indeed
special.
Yeah.
He's indeed special.
If we
He's
get
also.
enough likes,
He really is,
we
though.
open up the basement and we let Daniel come out and
Yeah, that's kind of how it works. Yeah, each
Yes.
episode, if there's enough downloads and such, like
Kinda
we're like,
grow
okay,
up.
we can let him out this time. He is in fact
Stop chittering. That's freaking
our resident Titan. So, folks, if you don't watch, I'm just turning into Ben Shapiro. I just said, folks,
Okay, so
and I'm
here's the deal.
talking about watching the show. People, if you don't watch the show, you need to. You have a lot of reasons to. Facebook.com/Beyond the Basement Podcast, YouTube, Beyond the Basement Podcast. You can find us both. You won't know what I mean by resident Titan when I speak of Daniel. He's actually in the show, believe it or not. In fact, the episode that he's in, we just watched shortly. He's the one who bites Reiner's arm because he's just about the right size. Don't you think?
Oh, I thought. Remember that one shot where he comes in? He's got the Titan with the beard and the hair. It looks just like the Kansas Titan.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's in the show multiple times.
Yeah.
His face is on that Titan, but his body.
On that day, humanity forgot. Humanity remembered.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yes.
Okay, all right, so let's recap.
We're
Recap.
children.
Hop
Welcome
into
to
this
the show.
recap.
All right, so this episode, one of the most action-packed of the whole series up to this point. This is the UFC fight of all the various episodes, again, up to this point. So it starts out with a flashback, actually, which we'll get into, of kind of Reiner talking about going back to his hometown and so on. And we catch back up with Eren as he's transforming and he gets into this fight. So one of the first things that happens is as Bertolt is transformed, partially, I guess, into the Colossal Titan, and his ribs are kind of wrapped around the wall. One of the first things he does is he goes and he grabs Ymir somehow and another soldier, which we'll also talk about. He grabs him, and so Hange's like, all right, we got to swarm him. They go to swarm him. He lets off some steam. You know what I mean? Blows off a little steam. So they can't attack him. They can't do anything. So like, okay, well, let's shift focus to the Armored Titan. At which point the viewer, shift focus to the Armored Titan. I don't know why I'm holding this air conditioner remote when I'm talking, but anyway, we shift over to that fight as well. And it's basically a long, literal like UFC fight. There's a lot of very real moves in this episode between Reiner as the Armored Titan and Eren in his Titan form as well. So they throw a bunch of punches, people get real beat up, and we realize a couple of things. Number one, the Armored Titan's he's armored. The blades don't work, and Eren's punches don't work, so he's got to use some different techniques. Basically, as the episode progresses, Eren gets better and better with his hand-to-hand combat. He remembers some of his combat training with Annie and with Reiner, and he uses that against Reiner, and actually comes just this close to beating him in combat, except for the fact that Reiner's actually pretty smart. So Reiner actually outwits everybody with the help of Bertolt, and Bertolt breaks his own ribs, I guess? I don't know how he does that. Anyway, we'll talk about it all, but this is one where he pops off the top of the wall and goes to land on both Eren and Reiner. So, mostly an action one, so we'll talk a lot about that. But legitimately one of the best episodes in terms of like the animation and the look and feel of it. Easily one of the best. Also, one of the best cliffhangers. Like, it's not the most compelling cliffhanger because it's not like
It's a literal
cliffhanger.
cliffhanger.
Because there's
Wow.
a giant Titan coming off a cliff. Get it?
When's the baby due?
Oh, yeah. Oh, jeez. Gosh, I
The
gotta
dad jokes are just
find out. Okay, so let's start out where it all began. The flashback. So the first thing that happens in this episode is Reiner, and he's like, I'm going to return to my home. What does he say? Gonna
All
return
I
to my
care
hometown.
about is going back to my hometown. That's all I care about now.
And so it's kind of this little super short montage of like a lot of stuff we've actually already seen, which is from their cadet training. A lot of it's from the cadet training, and some of it's from sort of the adventures they've had since. And it's really Eren's flashback, and Eren's kind of recalling all these times that he like was with Reiner and Bertolt. And the line that they say here, I'm trying to think. Is it Reiner who asked this? Why do you want to be a soldier? Bertolt asked. Yeah, he's like, why do you want to be a soldier? They're all talking about their, we actually saw this. I think this conversation is actually already played out in one of the earlier episodes before, like early on in season 1.
Yeah.
He's like, why do you want to be a soldier? And he says his typical Eren answer, I'm going to kill them all with my own 2 hands.
I'm going to slaughter them all.
And
This was when they went to help him with his ODM gear when he like couldn't figure it out.
Yep.
That was when they did their secret
balance thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is it's a flashback, and it's cool because we talk about Isayama telling you the truth. But remember, he always tells you the truth, but he doesn't always tell you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So he'll show you something that was true, but he won't show you the details surrounding that.
Mm-hmm.
So now as we go back to this flashback, what he's doing is he's revealing a little more. He's showing you the same thing again,
showing you his hand.
but it's completely different this time.
Yeah.
Because now we know these 2 guys who we thought were buddy, new cool characters to hang out and join the squad to fight against Titans are the reason the entire war, as far as we know it, is happening, right? And the very first thing Reiner says is, all I care about is getting back to my hometown. That's all I care about now.
Dude's messed up.
Now, what does that mean? Because we don't know where this guy's from. He said he was from a small village. Well, apparently that small village, Annie, Bertolt, and Reiner all are from. They all said they're from the same area.
They all have spotty family records. No one knows who their parents are. What?
Do all these people just happen to be from some weird village up inside the walls that just turns people into Titans? Or is there something else going on? We don't know. But all we know is he wants to go back there. Now, one would think if you can turn into a giant monster, you could do whatever the frick you wanted, whenever the frick you wanted. So you could go right back to your hometown whenever you wanted, and no one could do a thing about it. Especially their hometown we thought was way up in the north or something like that.
Mountains, maybe even. I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
They made it sound as if it was remote at one point.
So we thought the whole time he was wanting to get back there, and he couldn't get back there because the Titans have invaded Wall Maria.
So similar to Eren's situation. To get back to Eren's hometown, they would have to go out into Titan territory because that wall's been compromised.
Exactly. And so we want to go back to the basement, so we got to retake Wall Maria in order to do that. But if you're a Titan shifter, you can go to your hometown, you can go to the basement, you can go do whatever the heck you want to do because you have that ability, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason he hasn't. He's stuck around, and for another reason he hasn't. They haven't just gone. They've actually stuck together with the squad, right? So this flashback shows us another couple things. It shows us the motivation. They both say, well, they want to go to the interior and become military police. Well, they didn't end up becoming military police. In fact, only one of them out of their whole top 10 became a military police, and that was Annie. And we know why she became a military police. She wanted
was
to
an
get
infiltrator
into the interior. Reiner and Bertolt said they were going to, and they ended up not. Now, we thought they were swayed by Eren's cool speech, but now we know that they're the enemy. So why would they be swayed by Eren's cool speech? Well, they say, oh, Eren, why do you want to join? Why are you going to fight? And he says, I'm going to slaughter them all.
With my own 2 hands.
Now, if you were a Titan and Homeboy just said, yeah, I'm racist against Titans. In fact,
That's pretty much
I
what
want to
happened.
commit genocide against Titans. Yeah, you can see now they start to sweat. And now we know for good reason. They weren't just like, wow, this guy's got a real strong, direction. They were like, oh, he wants to kill me. And this is the interesting part. This is where Reiner turns to him and says, I believe you can do it. What in the blue hell is Reiner talking about right here?
He says it with such sincerity, too.
Yeah, he's like, what's your name? Eren
Eren
Yeager,
Yeager,
right?
was it?
Yeah. And that's an interesting thing. Like, maybe in the back of his mind, he's lying to his face and he's like, I'm going to kill this guy first because he thinks he can take us out. I don't know. But we know that they eventually have a relationship.
Yeah. So this flashback really does speak more to what we talked a lot about last episode, which is Reiner's kind of something's off.
Yeah.
Yeah, something's wrong with the guy. There's a almost like a maybe not quite a split personality, but sort of a split personality. There's
He
something.
has some screws loose.
Yeah, there's some kind of mental, emotional disconnect thing happening with him.
Compartmentalization.
And yeah, would kind of make sense given the circumstances, but it's difficult to understand. And the thing is that Isayama at this point in the show has not really made it's made it clear something's wrong, but it's hard to say exactly what is wrong. And then the thing is, nobody in the show knows either. It doesn't seem like Bertolt doesn't seem to get it. Like nobody has like a specific answer for this. It's let it be enough for you to know that Reiner has kind of been having a weird, compartmentalizing problem since cadet days. Like it's not just this isn't a recent phenomenon. Like he's been so plugged in and had genuine relationship with, which Eren will comment more on here shortly. He talks about you were basically one of the guys, and I looked up to you, and I wanted to be like you, and you always put your other comrades ahead of your own self. Like Reiner seemed to have these traits, and the thing is, he actually had those traits, and wasn't necessarily faking it when he like saves people's lives. Like he did it. He did save their life. You know what I mean? Whether or not like his motivations were entirely pure, obviously that's up for question.
He didn't have to do any of that. He didn't have to save Connie. He didn't have to protect Krista. He didn't have to do any of that. He could have said, "Oh shucks, my whole squad got wiped out. I was the only one to survive."
And you notice, like with the other two Titan shifters that we know at this point, with being Bertolt and Annie, like they're again we've described this before. They're the aloof ones. That when have they saved anybody? When have they stepped up? When have they showed leadership? When have they like
Ymir
gotten
too.
engaged?
Annie did save Connie.
That's true.
All right, we'll give her that.
Yeah, but this is an interesting thing we're going to draw again is the people who are really quiet in the show so far have been the ones who have had something to hide, right? People who are aloof, who are standoffish, are the ones that have something to hide. The people who talk a lot, Connie, Jean, Eren,
Tend to be the more
Sasha,
honest ones,
are the honest ones. They've got nothing to hide. We know their whole backstory, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the people who are standoffish or quiet are the ones who don't want to reveal too much because they're afraid they're going to get caught. They're spies. Now, if you can't lie, what do? You shut up. But if you can lie,
you can talk all day.
You talk all day. And it seems like Reiner was really good at lying. So good at lying, he ended up lying to himself. He couldn't differentiate.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like, imagine going so far undercover, which there are stories of this, Cold War stories of spies and people going so far undercover, cops
police,
as well.
Yeah.
Police.
And Vice.
They end up going so far undercover and so deep in their cover, they get so into the act, basically, that they kind of do become that. And the police case, it's like they end up doing drugs, they end up, doing actual crimes, like living the life of the people they're around.
Isn't that the whole movie with Denzel?
Oh, right.
Training Day.
Training Day. Yep. That's pretty much the premise of the movie.
I think, too, that it's, in Reiner's case, you build these relationships, you're in that world, and you're thinking, like, I built these relationships, like, of course, what would somebody do in this circumstance? Like, not betray him, so I'm not the betrayer.
Mm-hmm.
So you actually, like, start believing those lies.
Yeah.
Actually wanting to believe those lies. That's not who I am. I'm
Yeah.
not a betrayer.
Yeah.
I'm a good friend. And then, but every now and again, like, you can see there's a conflict.
Yeah, we kind of broke it down into warrior and soldier on the last episode, where we said that Reiner has his two split personalities, and one is the comrade, the one that lays his life down for friends. He's the one who offers to pick up Armin's pack when they're training. He's the one who saves Connie. He's the one who protects Historia. He's the one who keeps the squad together. And then there's the warrior Reiner, he's the one who broke the walls down. He's the one who attacks Eren. He's the one who gets things done when he needs to, right? There's this kind of split right now with his personality, and I think you're right. He's conflicted on who he's forgotten what the truth is. It's Fight Club. He's forgotten who he really is anymore, and he wants to be something better than maybe he was. And now he's conflicted because he's been told his whole life, that these guys, these idiots around him, or maybe are less than him. The dehumanization process has begun, and all of a sudden he's realizing, hey, these guys maybe are more than that. So I think that's kind of a serious breaking point for him. Now we know he's in warrior mode.
Mm-hmm.
He's in fight mode, and he's trying to take out Eren as we speak.
Yeah, he's made the transformation. So the last line that he drops, I just want a quick comment on this during the flashback. He says, "Oh, so the Titans didn't break your will?" Like it's a question.
Yeah,
and I love that question because he's like expecting him to. Like, it's evident.
That was the purpose.
Everybody, that's the purpose. So is everybody who has seen the Titans, who's seen their ferociousness, like soldiers and civilians alike, are scared to death of them. And like people are, we've seen it. You see it so much in season 1. People who are just in shock beyond belief because the horror of what they've seen. Like I said, soldiers included. Reiner knows full well that was the point and that is the effect on most people. And for Eren to respond not with fear and to respond not with, yeah, man, I'm terrified, but I'm going to go in anyway. Like, he doesn't hesitate at all. He says, I'm going to kill them. Well, he said, first of all, he's already said, I'm going to kill them all. He's like, oh, the Titans didn't break your will. And he's like, no, of course not. Like,
yeah. I think that was the psychological warfare of part of obviously the strategy of breaking down the walls to destroy humanity. It says that was their goal. Part of that was, what's the term? We just were talking about it. The 4 steps to break down a civilization.
Communism?
Yeah, right. With that strategy.
Normalization, destabilization.
Yes, destabilize. So obviously that was part 1 was when they broke the walls down, bring in all these other Titans, let humanity see the dumb Titans, let them get their will broken down so they won't have any fight left in them and it'll be easy. But all of a sudden they're coming against somebody who obviously had the opposite effect. They have even more of a will to fight these Titans, and he's rubbed off on a lot of cadets to go and to fight and to live, tatake.
It also turns out he's one of them.
He's one of them, yeah.
All right, so the next cut, we get back to basically where the last episode left off, and Eren's like, you damn traitors, and transforms, throws a really satisfying punch at Reiner as he's dragging him down the face of the wall, which is
By
amazing.
His face.
And then we get Mikasa, this quick break to Mikasa, and she's like, I messed it up. Like, I screwed it up, which is, this episode, I feel like there's a lot of that. Mikasa doesn't self-doubt a whole lot, at least not that we get to see. We don't like get in her mind all the time. She's pretty confident.
Yeah.
98% of the time.
Black and white for Mikasa almost all the time.
But here in a quick moment, she's like, I had a chance to kill them. Like, if I'd only, I love this. She's like, if I'd only cut their heads clean off.
Yeah.
Like, when we watched this the first time, I was like, that line, I was like, oh.
I think she
she's
realizes
right.
that she hesitated because she cared about them.
Yeah. She says, why couldn't I do it? And it shows us a flash of both of their faces and they're scared.
She does the, like, oh, crap, I care about these guys.
I hesitated.
And she hesitated.
Maybe in the same way Eren hesitated.
Yeah, I think so.
So there's kind of a mistake here. It's like, it's a mistake, but it's an understandable one because these are people I mean, imagine doing that now. Imagine somebody you've been friends with for about 2-3 years, close friends with. You see them every day, and you actually work with them as well, and they've actually like fought alongside you. This fairly deep relationship. Even with people you aren't like. I think of it like, okay, if you ever watch Band of Brothers or like, what's the Saving Private Ryan? World War II films that illustrate this, like, the relationship among soldiers pretty well. Like, they have
the
a lot of that. It's one of these things where, like, I feel like this happens a lot with, like, coworkers and stuff as well, where, like, as a coworker, like, as a person and stuff like that, you can know a ton, like, about a person. And yet, on a personal level, you might not know anything about them, or very little. Like, I can think of times where I've, like, known the coworkers and stuff like that, and I could tell you, like, exactly how they're going to do their job, exactly what they're strong or weak at. Like, we, like, really, like, are in tune with each other. But if you ask me, like, okay, well, what's their, like, favorite food? I'd be like, ugh, like, what are their families' names, or do they have any family? I'd be like, yeah, I don't really know. Like, we never went there. We know each other, but we don't know each other. You know what I mean? There's
there's a bond there.
But here's the thing, exactly. But that doesn't make the bond illegitimate. It's just not bonding over the things that we would associate with day-to-day life. It's bonding over things in wartime. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Anyway, Mikasa actually also says there won't be another chance. And I hate that line because it makes me sad because I'm like, yeah, I guess they're never gonna be that exposed and vulnerable as people again because now they know better. They see the cat's out of the bag.
Especially the fact that Hange and the crew suspected them,
Mm-hmm.
and they hadn't have them surrounded. They didn't have
Right.
guards. They didn't
Dude,
have
they
cannons.
botched it.
Yeah,
They botched it by walking away. And
but
just
there
like,
was
eh.
so much going on. They were getting attacked at Utgard Castle, and they almost died. There
The
was
whole
just so
Ymir
much.
thing, yeah.
I don't think they could have really planned that attack.
Plus, it seemed like Hange wanted to just pretend like everything was normal until she had them underground, and then
Right.
snap the
Yeah.
trap on
Stir up
them.
suspicions.
But obviously that plan never came to fruition. So Colossal Titan on the wall swipes his big old giant arm out. Bunch of the scouts jump out of the way, and he gets like he's playing a claw game.
Yeah.
He grabs two. He grabs Ymir in
Except for
her.
he wins.
He grabs Ymir in her stretcher, and he grabs some other random person we have no idea whose just legs are kicking out.
We've talked about this when we first watched it as well. Like, who is this? In fact, I posed this question
poor
to you, the
random
audience.
person.
Well, okay.
Does anyone know who this soldier is who just gets swept up as well? We think we know why they
Yeah.
were swept up, but who?
But I remember us theorizing like there was a fourth spy amongst them, and he was, and they're trying to get him out, but they never mention him again. We don't ever see his face, and there's
Never.
a reason for that. I believe the reason is why is he trying to grab? He's trying to grab an extra ODM gear because they don't have a way to get out.
Mm-hmm.
They have to either run with their Titans or they have to turn into ODM gear and use that. And they grabbed Ymir already. They need to get an ODM gear, so they grab a random unlucky citizen who's got the gear on so they can capture that and they can go on. I think that's the reason. They never show us his face. They didn't even say his names. Obviously, Isayama either wasn't important or it's really well hidden secret that we don't know about later.
Right.
So then Hange turns. She sees the Colossal Titan. She realizes Ymir was our treasure. Ymir is our honey bucket. She's our that's a bad word. Ymir's our
Honey
pot.
bucket?
Honey pot.
She is a pile of crap.
Ymir
kidding.
is the wealth of information.
Yeah.
We thought we lost it all with Annie, but we got it with Ymir. We know that she's a Titan shifter. She can tell us things about what's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they were really excited to get Ymir back, have her recover. Well, he just grabbed our whole reason, and we got them right now. Something shifts in Hange. She says there's no better time.
Well, and then he pops them both in his mouth, and Historia like kind of starts to lose it a little bit.
Yeah. And
Well,
Hange's like,
They say, oh, he's eaten them. And I don't know about you, but I'm just going to say, like, it didn't look like he was munching on them. I thought he was trying to, like, capture them. In the same way they're trying to capture Eren. That was my assumption. So I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah.
They think that the soldiers have just been eaten. If that was the case, he would have grabbed all y'all, I would think.
Right. And he doesn't need to eat you. He could just easily smush you in his hand. There's a reason, right? Just like Annie put Eren in her mouth to capture. This is the same thing. So Hange shifts gears and says, yep, everybody kill this freaking thing right now, okay? Let's go full squad. Let's swarm this guy. All the scouts go up. Epic blaze of glory. He goes to swipe his big old arm, and you're like, oh no, the scouts. But they're too quick. And these are the wings of freedom. There's a reason why they wear them with pride. They swarm around the hand as it comes in, and we get to see some of their inner thoughts. And their inner thoughts are, this is going really well. And you know in this show, as soon as things go really
They're
well,
like, he's really slow. We can win.
we can do this. Let's get to his exposed nape. And right when all the Titans get around him, it looks really good. Music swells up. Yeah, he starts emitting out this extremely hot steam.
You could say that he was full of hot air.
Oh, my gosh.
Could say he was just letting off some steam.
He does have kids, by the way. Or a kid.
Yeah. So they're kind of like flies. He's swinging at them, and they're easily able to get around him. Pride always comes before the fall, and he begins to shoot out all this hot air, and they're just burned. A lot of them get hurt. They fly back. Hanji says, "Stop the attack!" They fly back to a safe distance on the wall, and Armin says he's emitting heat like a furnace, but he's not dissipating. He's not. Before he evaporated instantly when Eren went to attack him that time far ago. He's staying on here to block us, to stop us from attacking him.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason. And Hanji says all we can do right now then is just wait. He can't stay in there forever.
So I just want to comment on this part because I think these are some of the best. Granted, they use the sort of 3D computer stuff here, but the visuals in this whole episode, but this part especially, is so are so compelling, and the way they like play with time and stuff as well. Like Berto goes to like take a swing, and they like stop kind of like into like that ultra slow motion and then you get a cut, close up shot of the scouts as they're like spinning around his like crazy long arm and stuff. I love it because it's like an experience, and this show is definitely more about the story. I mean, it's more about the plot, the characters, the dialogue. I would say, the intrigue. That's kind of what really drives the show. That's what makes it compelling. But gosh dang, dude, sometimes the artwork is just like spot on, and this is definitely one of those times. And I know for people who enjoy anime like frequently, that is one of the things they like about it. They're like, well, I like the art style, I like the visuals, and I mean, I can't blame you. Like, I have my sort of things that I enjoy in like film and stuff as well as like certain like film styles. I'm like, even if a movie is like not super great, I'm like, well, yeah, but I enjoy like the style. I definitely feel like this is like anime at its best, or one of those kind of moments of this like genre like functioning really well.
Yeah.
The combination of like the drawn artwork with the technological, the computer side of it, like all that sort of coming together, and like you feel like you're experiencing it. And especially for us, we watch the subs, and so I don't feel like I'm really missing anything, especially watching it multiple times. But it's like you're busy reading what's going on, but you're also looking up to catch the visuals. And because it's an animated show, it's not too difficult to do. You're not missing a lot. But it is kind of nice to just watch it. So I really do want to actually go back and watch. I've never watched the whole thing with the dubs.
The dubs.
I think you should. Anyway, this moment just feels so like thrilling to me, because that like sensation of like flight and like the danger and just like the whole, I don't know, it just all kind of comes together in that. And then dude, the sound effect, even when he goes to do the like steam thing or the heat thing or whatever, it's so like sudden and just like it just feels like, oh my gosh, like this is real. This is actually, I mean, it's not real, but this is, I feel like I feel the heat. I feel like I feel the heat with them.
I think it's good art. It immerses you. It makes you feel, and personally, what I think good art is it makes you think about the big issues in life. And the music swells up, the visuals are amazing, and most of all, like, it's not just music that makes me feel just a random feeling. It's not just visuals that look cool. It's also a story unfolding out that I want to be part of, that I want to see righteousness win, that I want to see these characters succeed, and I want to see them win the war, and I want to see them flourish. That's what I want in my heart. And so seeing all these things come together and going along for the ride, Isayama does a really great job of making good art that I appreciate.
Yeah. So they aren't able to do anything, basically. Hange just says, okay, listen, we're going to have to wait. Like, there's nothing we can do right now. We're going to wait. We don't know how long he can sustain this, but we're going to let him go for it for the moment, and we'll come back to this when we can. Which, it is a really good question. I actually don't think, even with having watched ahead, like, they don't really talk a whole lot about, like, what are the limitations on specific Titan power. We know they have limitations, right? We know you can kind of get, like, weak or tired or be broken or like,
and he couldn't make all of her parts of her body harden at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Seemed like she eventually got beat down and couldn't do as much healing when Eren was wailing on her.
Even the amount of times you can like transform, or the amount of times you can be in Titan state, you know.
The fact that there's got to be like a cooldown in between transformations of some kind, like all these things, like there's definitely limitations. It's just not super obvious what they are. They don't go into detail. So, I don't think Hanji's wrong to assume like, okay, well, he can't do this forever, and he doesn't have any legs.
If this isn't just magic, if this is science fiction, with most of the time, Isayama does a good job.
That way, yeah.
Heat is created energy. No one can just infinitely create energy. At some point, you have to restock calories.
And even the basic limitations of being human, they still slept, they still ate, like eventually something has to give.
Yeah. Even the mental, emotional parts of it are all kind of all factored in there.
And it seems Eren's relatively new Titan shifter, but he's seeming very exhausted every time he's getting out of his Titan state. How much more if you've been using these crazy powers, and so much. So yeah, there's got to be limitations. It's kind of a predator thing. If it bleeds, we can kill it. We know that they're not just these magic, inkillable things. We know they're humans in there. So they've got to have some limits.
So anyway, they basically, they change focus. And they're like, okay, we're going to go after the armored Titan.
And we're going to guard the Colossal Titan.
Yeah, we're going to guard the Colossal Titan, keep him here, like keep an eye on him. So she kind of like tells the squads like what to do. And then the Connie part.
Well, just before that, she says, we're not trying to capture them anymore.
We're going to kill him.
Just kill him.
Shoot
If you
on
can,
sight.
Kill him. And this coincides right with what Connie's about to say.
Well, and when she says that, Armin has a similar moment that Mikasa had where he's like, oh, my heart.
Yeah.
Because they're friends. Because they're friends. You're right. Yeah.
They were
Armin and Mikasa
comrades.
are like, oh my gosh, like Bertolt. Like they're looking at the Colossal Titan. Like that's my friend.
Yeah. One of the things that I love about this show is like, and a lot of shows that have good character development, it's like the characters react like humans. And even though there are a lot of circumstances that we don't even know, like do we know the year? I'm not even sure if we know the
it's
year.
like a fictional
timeline
land,
and a fictional timeline with fictional technology and fictional. There's a lot of things that are fictional about it, but what's not fictional is how human beings would react in that circumstance.
Yeah.
Right.
And so when you see Connie's response, everybody's like,
Yeah.
Gets you right in the feels.
Well, the worst part about Connie is he doesn't know.
He doesn't know.
In just the last episode.
This last episode, he's like, "Oh, Annie, what did he say about Annie?
Annie saved my life.
I need to thank her for that."
Yeah.
Bertolt and Reiner, too.
No, you don't. You don't need to thank Annie. Want to know why? Because she's a freaking traitor. She attacked and killed all of your comrades, and she's in a crystal right freaking now, and you don't even know about it yet.
Yeah.
Poor
Connie.
But Connie is the worst, beaten down, most.
His whole village has been
marginalized.
destroyed.
Yeah, his family's
His
probably
house
dead.
has got a giant titan on it that can
That's-
apparently talk.
We suspect is
Poor
maybe
Connie.
related to him. His brothers and sisters are all gone. His entire village is gone.
and his
and
best friends are freaking
Now
titan
he's gonna find
shifters.
out
Daniel?
his best friends.
Daniel, tell him what you told me earlier about Connie's.
oh yeah, he like if it was some sort of multiplayer, you have to roll for your character's stats. It's like Connie rolled a 0 on intelligence.
The
Poor
dice
guy.
just rolled off the table like you don't get any.
Connie's that one-legged dog just trying to fight. He's a widow brother.
The thing about him is it seems he has a lot of heart. It's
Yeah.
like that's the one thing he has. He's almost like I might get some backlash for this. He's almost like the dumber version of Eren. That is like, but he would have been Eren if he would have had Colossal Titan.
I feel
Yeah.
like he's a baby face.
devotion.
He's like, I can get behind this guy if he stands up and he does the right thing and he gives a great speech and he does,
He's kind of like a Rudy character.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead and make that one tackle, Connie. We believe in you.
So Connie says, yeah, be careful, Reiner and Bertolt. Can you rescue them? Can you save them? And
Well, he's like, I don't know.
No.
He said they're missing
Oh,
as
No,
well.
Krista
Historia says, please save Ymir. And
Yeah.
then he says, hey, where are Reiner and Bertolt? They don't have any gear.
Yeah.
We need to find them.
we're
You
glad
find
they
them.
don't have any gear.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
That's
you could
well,
tell,
well,
thing,
Bertolt
kiddo.
has gear in his mouth.
you could tell that awkward moment where that scout was like, I don't want to be the one to break this to you, bud, but you see that giant titan right there that killed your whole family? Yeah.
That's them.
That's them. Okay.
Where are they? They're right there. Like,
So this
okay,
gets-
really quick though on the Connie
Oh.
thing. So one of the reasons I think it's important in the Connie doesn't know about Annie, and even in this moment, Connie still doesn't recognize what's going on with the two Titans in front of him, is the fact I feel like what's trying to be said there is not everybody has all of the information.
Yes.
So we as the viewer are privileged to see inside of people's thoughts and things like that. So we get, the maximum amount of the story. We get to understand how things are unfolding, but there are a lot of characters who don't know all of the information, right? They don't know. Here's the thing is, for Connie's part at this point, he still thinks Eren's the only person in the world that can transform into a titan. Like, he may not know at all that there's people inside there. We have all that information. It seems old to us because it's like we've been through so many episodes with this and so much whatever. But the number of people who know, like I said, that like a Titan shifter is even a thing, even that is pretty limited, especially when you consider the general population, let alone like the military may have more information. Maybe they've kind of like disseminated some of this throughout, the garrison or whatever by this point, but maybe not, because even what happens in the interior, even the fight with Annie and stuff like that is like contained. Like they don't talk about it, right? It's a very like CIA kind of like moment or whatever. So Connie's missing this or whatever, I think is pointing at that piece of information, pointing at the fact that, okay, not everybody knows all the things. So, and with the thing with Annie is, remember, Connie was part of the 104th, so that means he was way out in the freaking woods, right with the what am I trying to say? Like he basically was held captive with the rest of the cadets because under suspicion that they had accomplices. Yep. Then he's at the tower though, right? When Ymir
he
transforms?
saw Ymir transform, so he knows other people
so he
shift.
does know. Okay, right. So he does know at least other people can do it.
And that blew his mind.
Yeah, that blew his mind.
Because he doesn't know about Annie yet.
But he doesn't know about Annie, right? Because he was over there. He doesn't
know what? And Bertolt and Reiner don't know about. They don't know what happened to Annie.
Yeah, they don't either.
They don't at this point. Yeah, they wouldn't because they've not like. As far as we know, we haven't seen them like talk. They haven't been.
Neither does Ymir really either. Like none of them know.
Yeah, none of them know.
The only people in their cadet squad that know are Jean, Mikasa, Eren, and Armin.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else knows.
Who were there? Yeah.
It's like a play out.
Obviously Levi and them, but
so that also might be part of why. Well, anyway, that's spoiler section conversation. I stopped myself.
Yeah, we're getting there. Okay, so. Yeah, anyway, I just wanted to comment on that. And so Connie not knowing what's going on here is a result of the fact that he wasn't in. Remember, we had a flashback, I think, last episode, where the report that Sasha brought.
She
done bring it to over to Hange.
It's been brought.
So the report she brought to Hange was a background report on Annie. So they actually had a briefing with like it wasn't a large crew, but it was a crew of scouts where Hange explained, hey, listen, Bertolt and Reiner are also suspect because they're from the same hometown as Annie, and their family records are spotty or missing and whatever, so on and so forth. So that's where they kind of show that. But Connie's not in there. Remember, Connie's at the tower. And so he kind of just is like wrong place, wrong time guy. Like he just wasn't in the right room at any
Plus, he's
point.
incredibly trusting and naive.
He's the man who knew too little.
I don't think he's that dumb, honestly. I think he's just...
He's had a hard time.
He's a really genuine person, you know?
Yeah.
And so he expects everyone else to be genuine and honest and forthright. And then that's not the case.
And not be secret spies that infiltrated a village and tried to destroy all of humanity.
Yeah.
I usually assume
he's not a giant piece of crap, so he doesn't assume that anyone else is.
So this is a really crazy part now. We get to Eren, who's just been leveled by a Reiner Braun punch, armored Titan haymaker.
It looks like his face actually just full on caves in when Reiner punches him here.
Yeah, Eren broke his hand off punching Reiner.
Who's fine.
Who's just fine. He's got armor.
Typical Eren.
Yeah, you ever punched Kevlar before? Not fun. And then Reiner just like, bam, slugs him. Eren flies through the air and he lands, and we get to go into his thoughts as he's laying on his back, trying to get feeling back in his arms and his legs.
It's literally Power Rangers if you think about it.
Yeah.
In Power Rangers, they would like because they're inside the Zords or whatever.
Yeah.
And they would cut to the Rangers inside, and you'd hear them talk and like think and like, oh, if we could only do this, and they cut back out to the battle of like the massive robots
with a lot less sparks.
It's just it's Pacific Rim. Like
that's what I was thinking, because the Pacific Rim, they've got the inside dialogue and the music keeps swelling as they do these cool moves. That's very much what this fight feels like. So Eren, in his inner dialogue, he's thinking back in this fight against Reiner. He's doing this battle, and he's thinking in his heart of hearts. He's thinking, "You're a hypocrite. You wouldn't shut up about a soldier's duty. You were holding back the whole time we were in combat. You're way stronger than you look. I thought you were a stand-up guy. I thought you were a guy who puts his comrades ahead of himself." And the whole time we're flashing back into these great memories of Reiner helping out Eren, teaching him how to fight, teaching him, stuff, and helping other people out. And we even see him standing in military uniform, saluting, and he says, "To think that one day, at one time, I wish to be as strong as you someday." It's to think at one time I wish to be as strong. I wanted to be like you. Never meet your heroes, man.
It's the
just
worst.
Crushes him.
And it's the worst when it's like a public figure you look up to kind of goes down in shame.
Yeah.
But when it's somebody you know,
that you love, trusted,
that you love, somebody you felt like you look up to, and they like betray your trust in a really significant way like this. Man, there's no coming back after that too, for the most part. I mean, it really, like when somebody breaks your trust in that kind of way, how does that ever recover? How does that relationship ever get better? Like when it's something like this, because Eren's really straightforward. We hear him say this later too. He's like, "I don't want you to exist anymore. Like you've not just broken my trust. We're just breaking up.
Yeah.
Like I want to burn your house down with you in it. Like Yeah, I mean, can you blame him? Like, because Eren's, realizing the ramifications of who these two are.
He's starting to, yeah. So right at this time, he's like getting angry as he's like trying to get back up, and we're like, oh no, he's down. Reiner's walking over to him. This is going to be a quick and easy fight. Luckily, you got some friends. Mikasa swoops in, tries to do the orange slice, breaks her swords off on Reiner's back. You know why? Because he's the armored Titan.
Oh.
He has this giant square metallic thing protruding from his weak spot, and she still tries anyway.
Wait, is that why they call him the armored Titan? Because he literally has armor all over his body?
Huh.
Well, I thought it was simply a figure of speech. Yeah, so she says, and apparently it's very obvious to us, but apparently it's not that obvious to them. But she says, his whole body is hard, unlike Annie. Eren's attacks and my blades both won't work. How the heck are you going to stop this guy?
I mean, you can't blame her for trying.
Yeah, I understand.
I would try too.
It's just very obvious to us visually that like parts of him are muscle and parts of him are like bone, and not to hit the bone part, hit the muscly part, but whatever. They don't have all the biology classes that we have. They don't have this 21st century education.
They don't have the 15 years education and video games that we have.
That's right.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
You got to know where the hit point
arrow
is.
pointing.
Yeah, like attack here.
Listen.
Attack here.
So
put your controller in port 2.
Mikasa, throwback. Metal Gear Solid. Let's go. Mikasa buys him a few seconds, and Eren is sitting there, and he's just stewing, and he's just getting angrier and angrier, and we can see the rage begin to boil up. And he says, "Hey, Reiner, I don't know what kind of face you're making right now. Are we going PG or are we not going PG?"
All right.
I mean, I already broke it last time.
If you're under like 13, 14, we do appreciate you listening to the show. However, this is sort of an adult themed. Attack on Titan is just TVMA, right? It's not. Anyway, it's not for kids. We're about to read some grown-up language to you that Eren uses. So,
as he's thinking this, again, he's flashing back to everything and all the ramifications of what these two, being the Colossal Titan and the Armor Titan, meet, which is something that blew our minds when they just so casually said it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, remember us? We're the ones who literally have killed thousands, if not tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who are indirectly or directly responsible for. Remember the coal that had to happen because of the starvation, because of the Titans that attacked the walls,
because they broke the walls down in the first place.
And remember the thing most of all, like obviously we care about everybody, but the thing most of all, like remember your mom getting her head broken, ripped off, and eaten.
In front of you as a child.
That's because of us. And Eren is slowly processing the ramifications of what all of this means. And as he's doing so, his rage meter, you can see it on the screen, it's just slowly going, brrr, right? It's going up and up and up. And he's
getting ready for a special move.
I don't know what kind of face you're making right now, but you really are the worst pieces of shit in all of humanity. I bet in all of humanity, no one's ever done something as evil and terrible as you have. And as he's thinking this, we see Eren's hand begin to just heal immediately. Yeah. He's tapping into that.
And it's cutting in between like the healing and then Eren and then the flashbacks to Shiganshina and like that day and his mom and his friends and Mikasa, the whole thing.
And he gets up and he says, "I've got to erase you. You shouldn't be allowed to even exist anymore. I've never been so revolted. What the hell were you thinking? Just thinking of your self-righteous face makes me sick." And you think about it. This guy preached to the choir, hey, it's all about unity. It's all about soldier. Don't worry about it, Connie. You don't have to, it's what soldiers do. We're scouts. We do it together. I'll protect you. You protect me, right? That's how we always do it. Mm-hmm. What a self-righteous hypocrite. Nobody hates anybody like a hypocrite. We all hate hypocrites, right? And he's just slowly working himself up, right? Mm-hmm. Now, some fighters, they fight great when they're angry. Some fighters fight terrible when they're angry, right? Sometimes emotions can be used and harnessed. Sometimes emotions can betray you. So all this happens. Eren gets up, and as we see him getting up, his muscles are tensed. His hand is grown back.
His face has grown back. He's just like insta-healed Somebody dropped a potion on that guy. He freaking got 100 HP back.
Yeah,
Just straight up.
He tapped into that rage, that focus. I'm going to kill them all focus, right? And he says, I want to vomit. You're a giant pest, and I'm going to exterminate you. And right when he about to just haul off, just cocks back for the nastiest, just straight in all of humanity, it bounces off Reiner's head, and Reiner just counterpunches him
on
into Bolivia.
Oof.
Isn't that where Mikasa is like on?
Oh yeah, she's on. She's so this whole time, she's been trying to crack the armor.
Yeah.
She's like stabbing Reiner's shoulder and breaking her sword like again and again and again, and then she sees Eren like do this creepy thing, and she goes, Eren, like she always does, and then goes, oh crap, and.
Yeah, and right when this happens, right in between the punch, we see this slide. Titan martial arts.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's an important one, actually.
This is an important one. I'll tell you why.
It's really just explaining what's about to happen to you, so if you aren't reading these, we've just really started reading them every time. You should read them every time, because sometimes they're helpful.
There's some good stuff in there, but the biggest thing about this that I really appreciate is that Isayama does not insult your intelligence, okay? He doesn't say, bam, 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 spam combo one,
Bow.
and somehow the bad guy falls over, and the girl does a flip through the air, and everyone falls on the ground. This is no Marvel. This is no, like, fake flippy...
It's not a Dragon Ball Z clipping fist.
Yeah. This isn't your average anime. This is somebody who knows actually what they're talking about, what actually works, and they're going to explain to you the narrative and the story of a fight, which is amazing. And if you don't know much about fighting, man, buckle in. This is such a beautiful display of martial arts. So what they're saying is, hey, martial arts work. And if you're big or if you're small, martial arts works. If you're in a Titan form, martial arts still work. So guess what? Useful martial arts are useful when you're small or when you're big. And guess what? Eren's giant right now, right? So in this fight, we can see you've got one giant, big, strong dude, and you've got a leaner, smaller, possibly faster secondary fighter.
Yeah. Now, keep in mind, too, the slide actually mentioned this, that martial arts, using these techniques is effective in the Titan form, more effective than striking, right? So more effective than necessarily just throwing punches. Grappling, actually mentions grappling as a more effective tool than striking. So it's giving you a little heads up.
But even striking, think about Eren's strikes and Annie's strikes.
Right.
Annie kicked his head clean off. She did that with technique, not just strength, not just slug in and out, not just slugfest, which is what Eren loves to do. He's just a bar fighter, just come at you, right?
What's the Tom Cruise movie where he's the Irish fighter?
Far and Away. Yeah. Good callback.
Doing this ones.
Yes.
Anyway, continue.
So it's going to jump into the MMA comparisons.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, Isayama is as talented a writer as he is also a fan of some things that we also happen to be fans of, and one of those things is mixed martial arts fighting, so MMA, UFC fighters, so on and so forth. So as it turns out, if you do a little research, you do a little reading, which you don't have to do, actually. If you just watch the show, you're like, this is an extremely detailed fight. Like Daniel was saying, this isn't just like some Dragon Ball Z stuff. Like something else, like there's some like real, actual technique going on here, and it turns out that's not an accident.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna say before we go too far into this, I just want to point out that the last thing that Levi told Eren was, try not to lose your temper and use your head for once.
Yes.
And as he's sailing through the air, he starts to think about some things.
It starts to occur to him.
Yeah. So
this doesn't work.
In a fight, a smaller guy can beat a bigger guy, but only if he uses superior techniques. Mm-hmm. A weaker guy can defeat a stronger guy, but only if he uses superior techniques. A girl, for instance, Annie or Mikasa, can beat a bigger guy or a male or whatever if she uses superior techniques. Martial arts doesn't care about your size or your strength. If you have size and strength, it's easier. But if you have technique, ultimately, you can really do you can punch above your weight. You can really take fights far and above your size, because technique, style, martial arts ultimately are a much stronger factor than your strength or your athleticism or anything else, right? So Isayama really plays into the martial arts style, and specifically plays into judo and jiu-jitsu, which are two martial arts that are meant to be used against larger opponents. Two martial arts that are built to be able to easily subdue somebody regardless of their size or strength, even if you're a smaller opponent. I know this works because I've choked out 250-pound guys, right? I know this works.
If you're not watching, Pete's not 250.
I'm not 250, no. I'm about $178. I'm working on it,
Yeah.
Anyway, no, I know this works because I've seen it and I've felt it, right? When I started training jiu-jitsu a little bit, my brother would beat the crap out of me my entire existence up until I was like 17, so we started to like stalemate, but he was into like some karate stuff.
Yeah, he's always a little bit bigger.
He was a little bit bigger. Yeah, this is kind of before I started filling out, and right when I was like 21, 22, I think we fought again. I trained a little bit of jiu-jitsu, and it was night and day difference. It was like I could throw him, or I could do whatever I wanted with him. And before, he would always beat me, and so all of a sudden I realized, wow, this stuff actually is applicable. It actually works. Isayama has, specifically in this fight, not just interpreted the fight and dreamed it up in realistic fighting techniques, he's also modeled the specific characters after specific people. So if you look at the body style, this is something I thought before I knew, just like, oh man.
Before you read up on it?
Before I read, yeah, this is kind of some behind the scenes stuff. Isayama modeled the body style of the Armor Titan after Brock Lesnar.
Legendary UFC. Wait, was he ever...
He's a UFC heavyweight champion at one point.
UFC heavy, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
He didn't fight in the WEC at all?
No.
Did he? Okay.
UFC only. He fought in UFC heavyweight championship, and he fought several times in the UFC, and he also was a WWE wrestler, pro wrestler guy, and he was also a football player. Did not get picked up by the Minnesota Vikings, but was attempting to try out for them. So he's a huge guy, giant pecs, which you can see.
Mm-hmm.
He's built like this giant, muscly.
Yeah, every part of him is
dude.
like a thick, like his neck, every joint, like it's all muscle.
His haircut and his face specifically still
the haircut,
really
for sure.
Yeah, look like the Armored Titan.
Yeah, his back too. There's just how broad the character looks. He looks huge. He looks a lot like him. How broad his back is, how wide his shoulders are. It's impressive.
And the fighting style that Brock Lesnar had was a wrestler first, kind of a charging, ground and pound style. He liked to
for sure.
tackle people. He liked to ground and pound them out. He was never the most tactical fighter. In fact, most people wouldn't call him an MMA fighter. They just call him a wrestler who just happened to get into the UFC because he was a big name. He came from WWE. But eventually, he started training and become a martial artist. And eventually, he started using his technique along with his strength, and he found great success when that happened. So this fighter, Brock Lesnar, is a giant gorilla of a man. He's huge and he's incredibly strong, but he's also, they always say he's freakishly fast for how big he was. Very athletic, very strong. And the other fighter that Isayama's modeled after Eren's Titan is Akiyama. They called him Sexyama. I forget what his first name is. Anyway, Akiyama is a Japanese MMA fighter, and he was always very balanced in his fighting. He could throw punches. He could also do judo throws. He could transition to jiu-jitsu on the ground, and he was a very balanced fighter. He never won a championship in the UFC, but he did go very far in Japan, and he was a great Japanese fighter. And Eren's Titan, his body style looks very similar to Akiyama's body style. So both of these fights, Isayama's written into the story. The characters from real life, their fighting styles, their stances all look similar. And the mentality now is then Reiner's mentality and Eren's mentality written over these characters in a really amazing mashup of reality and fiction in a really cool, amazing way. And if I was an awesome artist, I'd take cool MMA fighters I liked and make them do cool fights in my art too. You know,
it's like the ultimate dream. yeah, so some mad appreciation for the both the depth of the Isayama's story, of the Attack on Titan story, obviously the plot and the characters and so on and so forth, the intrigue. That in and of itself is an accomplishment, but to incorporate stuff like this as well is just such a, like, this is what makes the show next level, and this is why we're like, yeah, we should make a podcast about this show, like talk about it for hours on end, because there's that much going on, there's that much to it. So the next kind of clip here on the show is the flashback to Reiner lands the punch, Eren goes flying, and then they cut to Eren like landing on the ground, but he's just himself, like he's just like a person again, and it's him, and it's when he was fighting Annie, and this is actually a flashback we've seen before, and he's fighting Annie as a cadet, and she's just working him over, and she basically let's see. Eren complains like, okay, you don't have to like throw me that hard. You know, we're supposed to be pulling punches here. And she's like, well, you're coming at me full throttle, so I have to respond in kind. Which, by the way, is a really real thing. If you've ever sparred with somebody, like, okay, let's go like 70%, let's go 50%. Like it always gets to 60 and then 70 and then
always
like
escalates.
Yeah, like it just does. And so they go at it, and she says, you know, listen, Eren, I didn't beat you with my strength. You know, I used technique, and kind of this whole interaction they have is really just based around that one thing. The fact that Annie she's like, you know, if it was just about strength, you know, then you should just beat me. And Eren kind of comments to that as well. He's like, oh man, you know, if it's just about strength, I could have beat you. She's like, yeah, but that's the thing, that's not what it's about. It's what Pete was just saying, is that your technique that you're using here is actually more important than the amount of strength that you have. And you know, so she puts him in like a triangle and sweeps his leg and twerks him around on the ground, stuff like that. And one of the things in here, I was to say, we've seen this flashback before. We actually see this same shot of Annie, like in stance, like in her like fighting stance, like fists up. She has a really raised like fist kind of like deal that she does. That's exactly the flashback we got in the woods that Eren saw when she raised her fists in Titan form, just like that, right before she
kicked his head off. Yeah.
She also slightly lifts one leg when she does that. I noticed too.
Like she kind of puts her weight on her back foot and has one she's on the ball of her foot on the other one. So the MMA kind of influence has been going on the whole time, right? Yeah. Obviously, that was like planned. That was part of the show. So the other thing of note is that Reiner and Annie, supposedly from the same hometown. We haven't seen much from Bertolt on this, but these two specifically, and when they fight, they have got some serious. They have technique. They both have been trained, almost like for sure. We know for sure Annie was trained. We've actually seen some flashbacks of her, where her father was, or we assume her father training her. So Annie and Eren have this. You know, he has this flashback of this interaction with them, and then, gosh, one of the craziest parts of the show actually. So. Right as oh yeah, that's right. She says, "Listen, you need to learn." He goes, Annie has Eren in a chokehold. She's got him in a basic arm triangle. Okay, yeah. And he's like trying to tap out. He's like, "Hey, I surrender." And she's like, "Well, maybe you need to learn some things before you surrender.
Yes,
like, you need to understand that there's something else going on here."
That's something that actually goes back to jiu-jitsu. Is when you're rolling with somebody and you're just getting tapped, you're just submitting all the time. It just is terrible. They actually say, like, every time you tap, you're learning something. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're learning, I shouldn't get caught in that. Maybe you're learning, hey, I should keep my arms up next time. I need to stay a little more, loose, or I need to try to watch my base, or whatever it is. But I feel like Isayama's playing on that right now.
Yeah.
And what she's saying is like, yeah, when things hurt, you could just give up, or you could stick around and try to learn something. Try to learn, how do you get out of this? Maybe you can fight. Maybe you can fight to, it hurts. Yeah, maybe you're losing some air, but fight a little bit. See if you can move the position. See if you can buck out of this. See if you can pop your arm out. See if you can angle. Always stick around. See if you can fight a little bit before you tap out, before you end up surrendering, just so you can maybe learn a little bit more than beforehand.
So right as she, let's see, she's got him in the chokehold. He's turning purple. And we see Reiner flying through the air, and she actually gets out of the way and allows Reiner to land on top of Eren. Aaron's like, what the heck? What? Reiner, like, how did you get here?
What could cause a Reiner to fly?
Where did you come from?
Who walks up?
And then we see the unrequited love of Mikasa in her full fury, all 5'3" of her or whatever, and she's just her normal BA self, and she's like, what's she drop? What's the line she says right there?
Doesn't she just say, "Hey Annie, I want you to teach me that move"?
Yeah, she say, "Hey Annie, I want to learn that too." And Annie's response is
very interesting.
Well, I don't know about that. She's like, I don't think you'd have much use for it. You see, moves like this are meant for humans.
I don't think they work against a beast like
yeah, she's
you.
like, I'm curious to see if they work against a beast like you. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, the two most feared fighters
Throwing
in the
shade.
cadets
Are both women.
are
And
both
they're not
women
very big women.
and not particularly large, but they're so good at what they do, it doesn't stinking matter. And so it's time for them to finally throw down. And it's like everyone gathers around. They're ready for like the fight of the century. They're placing bets. They're like, okay, like who's it going to be? What's going to happen here?
John's like, I bet all of my dinner that Mikasa will win.
The big showdown, they say. Now,
Yeah.
this is interesting because in this episode, he doesn't show us what happened. Does it get broken up? Do they actually fight? What happens? Now, I have a suspicion that we might see this
You're beating me to it.
play out later on.
Yeah, because Eren kind of like fades out of it, and he's like, it doesn't even matter right now.
Yeah, he says, why am I even seeing this flashback? It's almost like somebody's trying to communicate something in my stupid pea brain.
So the crazy part is with all these martial arts things, even after the forest, I was just like, well, that was kind of cool. You know, it was neat that there was some actual technique, but I was still expecting a DBZ fight.
Yeah.
Like I was still
It's an anime.
expecting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And until this scene, until this very moment, I was like, yeah, that's what it's going to be like. And after this scene, I was just like,
Yeah,
Your
the emphasis on discipline.
expectations just got raised. You're like, oh, thank you, Isayama. So it's a big showdown, but Eren remembers. He realizes, hey, I need to learn something from that whooping that I took. You can always learn from a loss, right? Remember
That's
that
why he's having the flashback.
that
He's like, why am
story-
I remembering this right now? That's
story
why.
of me getting my butt whooped in varsity was like, hey, you could learn a lot more getting your butt whooped than you can beating easy opponents, right?
It's so true. It's true in like anything. I definitely think it like. So League of Legends, it's a game. I'm sure you're a nerd. You're listening to this podcast. you may be familiar, but it's a game where there's a huge skill gap. I mean, there's the difference between a professional player and even like a good player, like a top tier. Go ahead.
like him or me.
Okay, perhaps I did make it to gold 2 last season. Let's be real. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Top 17% of the server. Anyway, so what I'm saying is like the skill gaps can be enormous, just like they could be in like a real sport or something. Yeah, like fighting. Like he was telling us he does some jits now and again. Thursday nights, right? Is when you do the combatants thing.
Occasionally.
What's that?
I mean, the COVID thing and,
I mean, he used to.
yeah.
Anyway, he's been worked a couple of times by guys who are way better. It doesn't necessarily, they don't have to be bigger, but they're just way better. And I mean, I have as well. But the point is that when you get around people who are a lot better than you, or in League of Legends, when you actually just go and play ranked games, you go and play against people who are significantly better, you learn way quick.
Yeah.
Because you can't, the main thing is you just can't get away with bull crap. Like that's the main thing. Like in the NFL, this is actually one of my favorite like kind of illustrations. I remember watching an interview. It's been a long time. I can't remember who this is with. He's a guy who had a real good rookie year. They're interviewing him, and I said, "What's the difference between college ball and the NFL?" And he said, "It is so much faster. Everything happens at 10 times the speed in the NFL that it does in college ball." The whole premise there, the idea is that when you're playing at the college level, you've got other people. You kind of like the skill gap is pretty wide. There's lots of people from all over the place and lots of people who are definitely not going to the NFL. So you can get away with stuff. You can make mistakes and get away with mistakes. And not just that, but like when you're fighting your other opponents, there's so many more mistakes to take advantage of. But when you get around somebody who's skilled, it's again, any sport, anything you're going to challenge them in. Again, League of Legends is a great example as well, because there's no more room for you to like hesitate. There's no more room for you to be like, oh, I think I can get away with this. No, you can't. Like you can't. The margin for error shrinks to nearly zero, but that makes you focus. That makes you fast. That makes you good. That makes you train in such a way that you can actually improve. You don't just feel like a big fish in a small pond. You'll probably feel exactly the opposite, but you will grow. You will grow. Like you will improve. What Amanda's thing with playing, his wife plays Dutch Blitz with a bunch of people who are Dutch Canadian, whatever. Anyway, they're all super good, and now she's like the best.
Yeah.
Among us.
It's like
mere mortals.
When you're training with somebody who's much better than you, you hate it and it sucks until you don't. All of a sudden. And you just turn a corner and all of a sudden you figured out, oh, I'm good now. I can hang with the best of these guys. And because you were training with the best, now you can stomp everybody else. So it's a very true analogy. Yeah. It goes from board games to MMA to football
all
to
of it.
Video games.
All of it.
It's very true. So he says, I've never felt this awful in my whole life. And when you've been beat up, that
does feel bad.
A fact.
He feels emotionally bad too.
Yeah, I think he does.
Reiner.
Well, I mean, yeah, he's in a bad emotional spot. He's just gotten his face punched in a couple times, and he's not doing too hot. And Armin on the wall has taken plenty of beatings himself. So Armin's coaching him. Eren, don't let him get your glasses. But he says, don't fight him. You can't win in a slugfest. And that's all Eren's like go-to technique. Like, Eren, what's your strategy? I'm gonna hit him in the face. That's my strategy, right? So then they say, don't lose control. Eren gets up and he rushes towards Reiner again. You're like, bro,
throw another punch.
You can't do this. And Hange says, did he lose control? Right when he goes to connect with that punch, right when he goes to get hit by the armored titan, instead he ducks the punch, sweeps under, and locks up that sweet standing arm triangle, just like
the
Annie
did to him.
This is also
Eren finally uses his head. Thank God.
Yeah, he listens to what Erwin said. He used his head, right? Levi. Yeah, and what Armin said, and he locks up this standing triangle. He baited, he juked. That's one thing about if you do the same thing again and again and again, it's easy to debate that, right? So he says, so he locks up the standing arm triangle, and if you follow Matt Riddle back when he was a UFC fighter. When he fought in England, Matt Riddle locked up a standing arm triangle just like this, did the leg sweep, tripped the guy, fell right. And when you fall down to that, you fall right into a great submission. Very easy to get a tap from that. It
sucks to be on the receiving end of that. Yeah, there's very little you can do in the momentum of falling backwards into that. Just the impact of that is very painful. And you are at a massive, you have no control while you're in the air. Specifically, while you're going down, you got no control over how it's gonna end.
So I remember when I think I was the one to tell you about Attack on Titan, right?
No,
you told me about it.
I told you about it.
Yeah,
he told you.
No, I was on Netflix.
Oh, okay.
He's just a weeb, so
yeah. I thought when I saw this episode, I think after I saw this episode, I thought I had talked to you, Peter, about it. And I was like, bro, you gotta I think I remember talking to you and saying that and hearing you like, I don't know, I'm not sure. And I was like, do it, watch this show. Because as soon as he got that arm triangle, I was just, it was so sweet.
Feels good.
That's why we watch MMA. That's why we watch UFC is because we want to see these techniques play out. We want to see the strategy. We want to see that next level. And Hirayama is giving it to us with a grand narrative, right? Eren sinks in that arm triangle. He hip tosses, sweeps the leg, throws the guy on the ground. He locks up, and I'm thinking he's just gonna finish the fight right now. This is an easy tap. But right when they land, Reiner seems to kind of get loose. I'm like, come on, bro, that's a rookie mistake.
Well, right? Eren's working him. He's starting to break him. He's got his first big move in here. He actually in his head, of course, he's like, you should have thought twice before teaching me to fight. All y'all should have thought twice.
So
if you knew that one day we'd have to do this.
So Reiner goes to get up and he tries to grab Eren, and Eren switches and he throws up a triangle choke with his legs, right? So he switches from arm triangle. They can kind of break up, scramble a little bit. He throws up a regular triangle, and right when he does it, he actually locks the arm out, similar to like a triangle armbar, which is just beautiful.
Yeah, full extension.
And that's when he starts to put some pressure.
Yeah,
that's
he control the wrist.
Get the choke on Reiner.
Well, he starts breaking the armor. It's actually one of the most satisfying parts of the whole show. The whole fight is the different points, these different holds he gets him in. You can see at one point he starts to crush a little bit of his chin and his face, then a little bit of his arm,
shoulder.
His shoulder.
Yeah,
all of it starts breaking apart. And I'm like, okay, well, as we just saw in the slide earlier that was telling us, grappling is more effective than striking. Eren's blows, which Mikasa notes this, her blades don't do anything to the armor, and neither do Eren's punches. They don't do anything. But you know what does break the armor?
Squeezing armor against armor.
Yeah. squeezing that thing.
Yeah.
Think about how strong Eren actually is, just to be able to do that as well. So
Yeah. Plus, I mean, that's the reason these chokes work is because you're using your strong muscle quadrants against somebody's weak muscle quadrants, right? He's using his thick legs, right, up against Reiner's throat, and he is squeezing this triangle, and he's pulling the arm. And as he's doing so, we see the armor start to break. Reiner goes to buck up, and he goes to stack up on Eren with this triangle, which can be a defense, but Eren apparently knows the right thing to do in this situation. I thought he was going to sweep the leg. Instead, he switches his grip. He grabs both hands on the arm, throws his leg over his face,
twists around
right into a straight armbar, and it is incredibly satisfying.
Yeah. Go ahead, Daniel.
So if you don't know what these moves are, like the triangle, if you're online, I'm sure there's a zillion videos. The switch, the first thing after I was shown a triangle was an armbar.
Yeah.
Why? Because you switch from a triangle to an armbar like that. If they move,
happens really quickly,
and you lose some control, it's hey, this is a good
and they're
move.
both extremely effective.
Yeah.
In real life, these are like the whole breaking of the arm, breaking the armor is very illustrative. Yeah. Illustrative, but that's like the I didn't go to college way of saying it. I've heard people say illustrative.
Sorry, my forefinger was bothering me.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
They're very effective moves, and they get a high finish rate in the UFC for a reason. They get a high finish rate probably in any fight you get in, but a triangle is a blood choke. A armbar is a arm break. So he switches from one to the other seamlessly. He controls Reiner, and he begins to break his arm. He does break his arm.
Clean.
And he rips his
Straight
arm
up.
clean off. And all of us
His arm
dreamt.
flies through the air and almost clobbers Mikasa.
When you're watching an actual UFC fight, there's this thing happen when somebody lands a good blow or they get like a knockout where everybody stands up like, oh, like that just happens. I feel like that's what happened. That's what I did when I watched it the first time. I was like, his arm came off. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So Eren just ripped the Colossal or the Armored Titan's arm clean off, and he's got a free reign to kind of do whatever he wants. Now I'm thinking soccer kicks to the head would be a great thing right about now, but we know, hey, the blows aren't working so hard.
I want elbows dropped at this point, like so badly. I thought there's a couple different times in the show. That's what I thought was going to happen. I'm like, Eren, now's your chance, dude. Give him one right to the face. He's going to love it.
Drop those bows. But we hear the voice of reason. Armin, Eren, you did it. Now run away. Why would I want to run away? Because their goal is to kidnap you.
What's to kidnap you, bro?
You're playing their game.
Armin the strategist.
Fighting
always
out.
listen to him.
Yep. Come back to the wall. And Eren, we see him stand up. We see him. It looked like he was about to throw a kick, but actually what he did was he played sharks and minnows. He runs back to the wall and he gets safe. He's safe. He's touching the wall. He's safe right on base. And everyone notices.
Yeah, Hannes does show back up.
He's in control.
Yeah. Yeah, Hannes shows back up here because he's been with Garrison. Obviously he is Garrison, so he shows back, and I love that Hannes is our character who gets to show up and kind of he also gets to witness the growth of the characters.
Yeah,
and he's like, he's like, yeah, where's Eren? Oh, he's right there. Oh, that's Eren and his Titan 4. Like, good grief, like what? And then he sees the other Titans and he's like, why did they show up here? So again, illustrating not everybody knows all the things. We the viewer have the inside info because we saw and heard the conversation between Eren and Bertolt and Reiner, but not everybody else did.
Is it continue continuity? Yes, continuity. Yeah. The continuity is beautiful here. Isayama's kept each character's and what they know separate. Not everybody knows the same things at the same time, like we the viewer know. A lot of these characters don't know what we the viewer know, and he's showing you the difference in the chaos that happens. Yeah, he's painting with a very realistic brush right now.
I would love to see the dude's notes, like, because it's extreme when you're writing a really complicated story with a lot of logical, like fact patterns and things that you're dealing with. It's hard enough to keep things straight, like in real life, in like a court case with lawyers and people who are trained at this. But to be an author and to write all this stuff without a bunch of plot holes and stuff, things that continuity, having one thing follow another in the correct way. Extremely difficult to do, especially with all the flashbacks and the cutaways, and I won't show you this now, but I'll show you this later. It's just a lot of writing sleight of hand, so to speak. So anyway, so Hange.
I was gonna say, as Hannes is looking down and he's at Eren's Titan form, he's like, oh my gosh. For some reason, when Hange just goes down and lands on Eren's shoulder. I just love that.
She's
it's
like
just
Tinkerbell.
it's like she looks like a magical little warrior fairy, and she lands on Eren's shoulder and she starts telling him the strategy.
Don't steal the cookies, Eren. You can do better. And then,
think happy thoughts.
And then what? Who's the bad person? Ymir lands on her shoulder. Do whatever you want.
Punch his face off. But anyway, she is a section commander, so she starts doing what she's supposed to do and giving him commands, and then he agrees to her commands, and she just like blushes and almost has a conniption because it's her dream come true to talk to a Titan. And it just
and he's
happened.
in control.
Yeah,
Like he
and he
looks at her and
understands.
acknowledges and everything. It's
Makes eye
great.
contact with her and everything.
A strategist Titan is a dangerous Titan.
Yeah, she gives instruction, and he goes, kind of this grunt breath,
Caveman.
and then she starts blushing and
Yeah, this is Hanji's.
I
dream
love that
right
there's
now.
just like this adorable moment right in the middle of this horrible fight.
So
Beautiful and horrible fight.
Eren thinks, man, you guys are freaking screwed.
Yeah, they're the ones who are
Because-
backed in a corner now.
I've got the wall right here. I've got all of these scouts ready to try to kill you guys at
Yeah.
a moment's notice. And I've got, now here's what I'm thinking. You've got Hanji and you've got Armin in your back giving you advice, coaching your fighting.
Oh yeah,
That's
best
killer.
coaches.
Mikasa's got new blades. Armin gives Mikasa her blades. He goes,
Yeah.
here, you're going to use these. I'm just going to.
They're set up sitting pretty to win this fight.
Yeah.
And the thing is Eren actually does point this out. Like they've screwed themselves. They've played their full hand now. Okay,
Too
right?
early.
Like
Yeah.
all the cards are on the table. You got nothing left in the tank. There are no more surprises. You're the ones who are in the corner. You're in
Yeah.
our territory now. So.
And we have what they want. Eren. They can't just leave because they want Eren, right? Well, I
Mhm.
guess they could leave, but like they've said they want Eren and they want to get Eren. They got Ymir right now. They want Eren, so we have all the power.
if they leave without Eren, that's a loss for them.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So he's feeling pretty excited about that. Reiner gets up with his one arm, and we see something pretty curious. We see the armor break off his legs, and right as he's happening, he starts to sprint towards Eren. Now, Hanji, just before she got off, she says, break his legs, because there's weak points in old school armor, like knight's armor.
Mhm.
There's always some weak points in the joints, which we pointed out immediately, but apparently they had to think about it. That's fine. Better explanation. And they show us old knight's armor and how the groin, the back of the knees, the armpits, the neck, those are usually the weak spots in the armor, right? So you could have movement. So she tells this to Eren. She says, find a way to do one of those joint manipulation locks on his legs. If you can break his legs, you lower his maneuverability, and you might be able to break that armor off. So Reiner loses his armor on his legs specifically.
Yep. Good
We're
timing.
Like, okay, this is working to our favor, but why did he drop his armor?
So he can.
But
Brock
only on the
Lesnar
back
speed.
of his legs, not the front of his legs.
Yeah, and realize he was so stiff with all the armor before. Now he drops a little bit of armor. He's incredibly fast, which is something they said about Brock Lesnar. He's incredibly fast for a heavyweight. He full on sprints into a double leg takedown and just throws Eren down. Eren can't get out of the way. He's that fast.
Eren actually says, I can't get away from his tackle. Or something to that
Yeah,
effect.
he does. He says he thinks to himself, like, I can't get away from this, so I'm going to have to redirect here. I'm going to have to do something else. And it turns out, if you're going to go tackle somebody and you put your head down, somebody who knows what they're doing is going to say, give me that neck.
Yeah, which Eren does say. He says, give me that neck. And anybody who's ever put a guillotine has always thought, give me that neck. He throws up his guard, wraps his legs around Reiner's waist, which stops him from being able to transition or go anywhere else. He puts his hand underneath the neck that secures that carotid artery choke on both sides, and he cranks up, putting Reiner's head in what we call the guillotine choke, which is where your arm is basically cutting off.
Yeah, your forearms right into the...
Cutting off the circulation, and you've got him in the guard. And what you want to do is you want to just flex your core. You want to push down with your legs, push their body away, and you want to wrench their head as far away from their body as possible.
And he gets his heels on his back.
Yeah.
So something that
Full
people
leverage.
will do is if their back, you're looking at their back, you have their neck in a hold, they're facing down. Sometimes you can flip over to alleviate some of that tension. He grabs that back and he holds him down to get that angle as steep as you can.
Yeah.
Now he's trying to wrench this thing, but he can only wrench so much. Reiner is fighting him back. He's pushing him. Reiner, we know, is very, very strong. Now, usually, eventually, you're going to win that fight because you got the superior muscles. But we have, luckily, some help on our side. We have a Mikasa Ackerman with fresh blades. Thank you to Armin. And she swoops and says, "Oh, you took your armor off and back your legs? Sucker!" And she cuts the heck out of one of his legs. As we see that leg get slashed, that tendon in the back, his leg goes limp, and Eren used that opportunity just to wrench the hell out of Reiner's neck. And as he's wrenching,
Blood starts exploding.
He's breaking his teeth.
His teeth are breaking. Oh, gosh, dude. Your teeth can grind in a tight choke. It's terrible.
Yep.
And we see the armor start to break. And as that armor starts to break, the morale of the whole squad watching starts to rise.
Yay.
He's got him.
Even Armin starts to believe Eren can win. And then doesn't the armor fall off of his face the rest of the way?
Yeah,
and
the
then he
armor,
lets a bunch of steam out of his mouth.
Yeah, armor falls off of his face. He had this guard over his face. That falls down. He's like, "Oh, man, this sucks. I'm in some serious trouble."
He's definitely got him beat. I mean, we know how this episode ends. Doesn't work out that way, but like...
This is a fair fight.
And in an uninterrupted fight, Eren's got him beat, for sure.
So I was wondering about that, and we probably don't have time for this, but does Eren have him beat, or was he underestimated?
Well, here's the thing. What rule set are they fighting by?
None.
In that case, all's fair in love and war, right?
Yeah.
In a street fight, you do whatever you need to win. And
Throw
Reiner
sands.
says, "Well, I did a 1v1 versus you, and now I'm gonna increase my odds by calling in some backup,
I'm going to tag out.
or I'm just gonna 2v1 you."
Yeah, or 2v1.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna win.
It goes from UFC to WWE, just boom,
Real
just like
quick,
that.
He comes
from the top rope. Oh, my God.
Yeah, so Eren's wrenching on his neck saying, I can win. He's breaking the armor down, and the whole time Reiner's freaking out, and he realizes he's got me. I better do something to
I think he
change
realized
our
he's
scenario.
about to get his head ripped off.
Yeah, he is. And they're like, rip his head off. Show us that traitor. So Reiner begins to push with his one good leg. I don't know why Mikasa's not swinging back in on that thing.
Yeah.
But he pushes with his one good leg, and he shoves himself all the way closer to the wall. Now they're saying...
To a crater where some debris has fallen.
Yeah, he's saying... The scouts are like, why is he getting close to the wall? That's not going to help him. You can't do anything, you idiot. But even in jiu-jitsu, actually, getting up against the cage a lot of times can give you some additional
some
leverage to
and
work
stuff.
yourself up or something like that. So it's not a bad idea either way. But we know that this was a much more devious plan, the reason he moved him over.
It looked like he pushed him along the wall, like parallel to the wall,
Parallel,
too.
I would say, yeah.
So which gave even less sense to why he would do it. And everybody around that's watching, all the humans are watching this going, what in the world is he doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then he gives his big shout, he's able to, and they think, oh, he's calling for more Titans. Like, and they think this because a lot of these soldiers have seen this.
History has shown.
Yeah, they've seen Annie do this exact thing. Like, oh, he's asking for Titans to come and swarm right now. And they look around, nothing, dead silence, nothing goes on. Like, oh, like what does he think? He's like, who's he going to call? I don't see any Titans coming. Well, turns out that wasn't what was going on.
Eren
he was
continues to pull his head off.
Yeah, all
it
of his
looks like
armor's
it's
breaking.
about to happen.
And then from the top rope comes good old Bertolt, mouth open. He breaks his own ribs. He's transformed in such a weird way. It's like he wasn't able. I don't know what the story is with this, but his ribs have wrapped around the wall, so he just intentionally breaks that. He has no like real good mobility except for to break with his hold on the wall and to just lean himself on over and just go down face first.
Yeah,
right down onto Eren and Bertolt. So again, best cliffhanger of all time, literal cliffhanger.
They don't actually let us see his body make contact with the grappling titans below him. They just cut right before the moment of impact. To be continued.
But we see a
Super
full
rude.
circle being painted here by Isayama because originally Eren was in a deep submission, couldn't get out, and Reiner was thrown to stop the submission being applied. Now, Eren's got Reiner in a deep submission, and Bertolt is thrown to stop the submission.
Yeah, I
Also,
noticed that
Connie
too.
kind of has this moment here because Connie's actually the one who notices. We're speaking of his IQ. Okay, he's not all dumb.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
said that.
Connie has some good moments.
He's actually the one who's
He's
like, oh
just
my gosh, like,
super
wait, what is he
loyal.
doing? I think he's coming over, and he goes, oi, 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 look out from above. Like,
Yeah.
he's trying to at least warn
Okay.
Eren.
Okay, he didn't roll a 0. He rolled a 1.
Okay. Hey,
The dice
is that a
didn't
box
lead
of
to
rocks or is that Connie's IQ? No. Connie's our boy. We love him. And man, this episode is a
Oh my
banger.
God.
A great episode for combat, a great episode for artistic inspiration, a great episode for some great feeling moments, and a great episode to make you want to binge watch the next 6 episodes so you see what the
Yeah,
heck happens.
season
Until
2.
3:00 in the morning.
Season 2's you just can sit down and just go through the whole thing. It's fine. It's totally fine. Okay, so yes, with that, we're going to go into the spoilers section here. Make sure you send us an email with questions, comments, theories at beyondthebasement podcast at gmail.com. You can also find us on YouTube and Facebook /Beyond the Basement Podcast. Please look us up there. We do broadcast live on Sunday nights on Facebook, so we look forward to seeing you there. You can hit us up with comments and so on there. Drop us a like, all that good jazz. Thank you again for showing up. And this is your official warning, your final warning, because here come the spoilers. In 3, 2, 1.
If you still had your hoodie on, you could have taken
It's
it.
getting hot in here.
I don't know if you want to go shirtless.
pushing up
but-
some steam. I am getting so hot.
So there's actually not
that with
a
such
ton of
vengeance.
spoilers in this episode.
Poor hat, I feel
Yeah.
bad for it.
I just wanted to belong.
What was the spoiler you almost said earlier, Rachel, that I was thinking about that I stopped myself from saying?
Perhaps because, Reiner doesn't know about Annie, maybe that's why he was always wanting to go back for her, because he doesn't know she's in a rock form right now.
Yeah, and I remember that being a big deal when they find out about her. And I
Yeah.
remember, I think they find out about
When
her
did
in
they
the
find out about
woods,
her?
right? Ymir tells him, doesn't
Yeah.
he?
Well,
Does
does
she-
Ymir
doesn't know.
Ymir
She
doesn't know
doesn't know.
either.
Eren must
no,
tell
but I
him.
think Eren maybe says something. I can't remember now. It's been so many
We
years.
have to get there when we get there. Yeah, I'm not sure either. What
Do
you brought
they
up.
even know that a Titan can do that?
Good question. No, I've been wondering this for a long time too. Because it doesn't seem like there's okay, with cadets, it's a cohesive training. Everybody's on the same page because they've all gone through the exact same training.
Right.
We don't know exactly what training
Titans
Reiner and Bertolt and Annie and all them went through. It could have kind of been anything. We know Annie was trained by her dad. We've seen some of that. We don't really know what it was that they got trained to do. And just in general, training them to use their Titan powers at all just seems like, okay, I mean, I come from a society where it's normal. They have all the information, so there's that. But we don't know to what level they have. We don't. Here's the thing: is we don't even necessarily know how far those abilities go. Anyway,
Yeah.
What if they go further? What if Armin, with all of his intelligence, having the Colossal Titan power,
Can unlock more.
can do even more?
Yeah.
It's
Anyway.
kind of interesting because it's like Annie apparently has this hardening ability. We've seen the Colossal Titan with his armor that breaks off and he can be faster. Colossal Titan steams, Annie hardens. Are those things specific to each Titan?
I think so.
Or
It appears that way, but I don't think so. Because we thought the Titan calling ability was specific to the female Titan. But it looks like
Who else has it then?
what Eren does
Eren.
Sometimes it works.
He's not calling them.
Eren-
He's controlling them with his mind,
yeah,
bro.
there's two different
But
things.
not when he's
No, it has to do with that was a specific. So this is there's details with that. Since we're in the spoiler,
there's
we'll go for it.
levels.
There's so Eren, the Titan, if you
You're
remember
talking
that,
about the coordinate.
the coordinate.
We're not talking about that.
Yes, I'm saying the difference
Okay.
between the coordinate and between what Annie did, which is I thought what you were saying.
That is what I'm saying. I'm saying
Yeah,
Annie did it with
there's
her
a
voice.
difference.
She just kind of
Yeah,
yelled. and
I'm
they just-
talking about when Eren first turns into a Titan.
Yeah,
He runs up on the library that all the scouts are running to,
and then
he goes,
yells.
and a
Yeah,
bunch of
but-
Titans turn. It doesn't mean he was commanding them.
But they
But it
noticed
seems
him.
similar.
Yeah.
I think they just saw him. They're within sight of him. They're like, oh, look, a shifter. Go eat him.
Okay.
So is that different? Yeah. Is he just yelling, and is Annie's a special ability?
Well, remember...
And if so, then that's different than the coordinate.
Yeah. Remember when those few... not the scouts, not the MP, but the garrison. This few garrison guys were charged with keeping the distraction of the Titans away from Eren when he was going to put the boulder down. And they start to mock the Titans, and a few of them turn around.
They can kind of
we
understand
know that there's
some
an
stuff.
intellect thing going on. I wonder if there's something where Eren is like...
Because there's definitely somebody in there.
Yeah.
Even though they're not very functional.
He's like challenging them, and they like don't like that. I don't know if it's the same, but it looks like the Beast Titan and Annie have some sort of command, which is why we've theorized that they're of royal blood or something. They have some sort of command on Titans. Annie was able to turn regular Titans into abnormals, and the Beast Titan was able to turn regular Titans into abnormals. Annie was able to draw a giant horde of them. We don't know if she can command them outside of them eating her. That's all we've seen her do, but that's what they allude to. The Beast Titan obviously can tell people, stop, don't do that. Yeah.
I don't know. It's not
well,
super
it
clear.
also seems like Annie has the hardening ability, but then Eren figures out how to do it
He
eventually.
doesn't figure out how to do it.
But
He drinks something.
yeah, he drinks something and gains that ability.
So is that just something that she drank?
Or is that...
Well,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
when I
Well,
say he figures out how to do it, what I mean is he
that's
practices
why-
several times and gets better at it.
That's why I've been making this argument the whole time that, okay, so the Titans, the Titan shifting thing is, a spiritual power or something, right? There's definitely a mystical element to it, but there's
Yeah.
also an extremely logical element to it. And that in all the things that the Titans are doing, even the fact that to become a Titan in the first place, you're injected with a syringe, it's a science fiction, not a spiritual thing. It was what I'm trying to say. Like, it's not magic. It is science. And so I think the Titans are a technology, and that, each of these Titans have a specialty. There's clearly differentiating things about them that are specific, like the long arms,
specialized
some of the form.
weapons.
Like, we've seen Armin in the trailer for season 4. We know that he's at least roughly the size of Bertolt and his as a transformed Titan. What I'm saying is, like, they certainly have some specialties, but this whole, like, what are they capable of doing is, I feel like, more a question of, like, what's the technology? What's the upper limits of what the technology of Titans? What are they able to do? I actually have doubts. I do have sincere doubts about the Ymir story. That I think it's a legend. I think it's a myth. I'm not sure that they're, like, maybe, like, I could see the show playing out and, like, finishing like an arc. This goes back to ancient days. Like, clearly there is something that goes back to ancient days. There's a lot of references to the stuff. But I'm saying, like, it's at least possible in my mind, like, that this whole thing is, like, there's a lot more science in the science fiction here than there is myth, than there is, legend, and so on and so forth.
That was one of our early theories running, but I still think I like the idea of them going back to the mystical and them defeating this great evil that infected humanity and going back to normal. I think I like that idea better than, and even if they tied it into some history, like the people who...
Metachlorians.
No. Way to spoil it. Way to spoil the mood,
Yeah.
Daniel.
That's a swear word in this house.
I'm just saying that's the exact thing that you're talking about.
No, I'm saying even if they end up tying the spiritual into actual history and saying, oh yeah, the people who defeated the Titans, we called them the Knights Templar or something. They took it to like a history, something.
Yeah, incorporating the history. I mean, I think that's for sure going to happen. But I just think, again, with all the kind of like steampunk technology elements that have already been placed in the show in season 3 and then in the season 4 trailer, like, I think that's gonna play. I think it's gonna play a bigger role in how it all ends up.
Okay.
I don't know. Just a thought.
Curious.
And maybe it is. Maybe the transforming power is kind of like the mystical part of it, but they're able to enhance it with all their technology.
They did show in the release for public information. They did show the Titan martial arts, and it looks like either the Titan is powering up and he's got something on his hands, he's going to shoot or something, or it looks like he's got a shield. And that's something that we see in the season 4 trailer. We see Titans using weapons, which, why the frick wouldn't you use weapons, right?
Yeah.
Pacific Rim, he grabs a sword, and you're like, yeah, weapons work when we're this size, and they would really work if you're gigantic, right?
Yeah, exactly.
If the Colossal Titan breaks off a flippin' huge tree and starts
a
swinging it
building.
around, or a building, or a
Well,
tower,
I mean,
or a part of
technically
the
it's already
wall.
happened. The Beast Titan's throwing rocks and stuff.
Yeah,
so.
and it's incredibly effective.
I'm wondering if and this is possibly way too nerdy of me in thinking, like, would a steel sword be as effective? Because when you're talking something gets that large, there are restrictions, like, once something, physics, like the idea of, give me a lever big enough and I'll move the world. Well, what is that lever going to be made out of? It's not going to bend the world. It's going to snap.
Yeah.
All right. Fair
But
enough.
see, so
I don't
Reiner's
know,
already
I'm
got
not that
like
smart.
he's already got some brass knuckles, and he had like the crystallized knuckles. What if Eren gets himself like a chain or something? What if they fab him up some cool armor and he goes in and is like, "Come at me, bro. I got a freaking giant blunderbuss." I don't know, just something. We see the bipedal Titan with machine guns on him, right? That's next level stuff right there. Like, screw your Titan powers. I'll shoot you in the face, So,
All right. So, spoiler, we kind of like mentioned already. Okay, wait. One super quick one for me. Remember the Bertolt, as a Colossal Titan, grabs two people? We don't see the second person, and we're like, again, I still pose the question. If a viewer, if you know more about this than I do, like, I'm
or
open
if
to
the
it.
manga reveals it, you can spoil that.
You
bit
can
for
spoil
us.
that. Yeah, I'll take it. My theory is, or your theory, I think is correct. Is like, hey, there's going to be, like, they need the gear. They need the ODM gear, at least one set, in order to actually successfully make their retreat. I agree. I also think because at the beginning of the season, one of the first things that happens is he goes, "Oh, the Beast Titan is like, wow, what a clever invention!" Like, about speaking of the ODM gear, he's never seen it. What if they're also taking it back to Zeke? I don't know.
Interesting.
Just an option.
Yeah.
Okay, so the spoiler I actually wanted to get to is the irony. There's really not too much to say here, but the poetry, I guess you could say, that is the fact that Armin is the one who identifies the steam thing as heat, as dangerous. Like, he sees that tactic, and it is also the thing that he willfully throws himself into and gives it. Like, he lays his life down, and he was the one who saw it first and identified it for it was, and he also later on intentionally puts himself in the way of the steam of the Colossal Titan.
I thought about that when the guy gets down on his knees and he's like, "It burned me. Bring me water." And then I was like,
Yeah, his little hands your hands a little burnt.
Yeah.
Oh,
How
poor
about
baby.
you hold on until you burn to a crisp?
Yeah. All right, I'll bleep that part out. Don't worry about it.
Anyways.
Armin looked like he had had a tanning accident when he came out.
Yes.
That's a much more sensitive way.
Armin looked like Hulk Hogan after his 5th session with the fake tan. Yeah. So that's terrible. Here's something we wanted to comment on, bringing us back around. Kansas and I were having a conversation just before this about how when Annie is revealed as a female Titan, Eren can't believe it. And he can't believe it so much so his subconscious is so tripped up he cannot transform to even fight against this person. He's so conflicted on the inside. And we know when Titans have goals, they actually unlock their full potential. Eren locks into the goal of killing all the Titans. He's super deadly, right? So when he's not focused on this, he's confused about Annie. No, it can't be Annie. She's our comrade. What's going on? He can't fight her. And it takes a couple speeches by Armin and John and Pain to get him to the next level. Oh, and his realization of Mikasa. He's got to protect Mikasa, right? All those things come together. And he finally, after like an episode, it's like a Dragon Ball Z episode, he finally gets to, transforming into a Titan. It's really great when he does. But here, something we commented on is like, what's Eren's relationship with Annie? Nothing, because nobody has a relationship with Annie, because you can't have a relationship with a freaking rock, right? She's got no personality, and she keeps her cards.
She does become a rock.
Well done.
That's why I laughed.
She keeps her cards played really close to the chest, right? She's got all her kings in the back row. She's J.D. Salinger quote there. Anyway, she's very careful and guarded, right? So no one gets through that. And he has a still hard time fighting against her. Well, who's he got a relationship with? Reiner, his big bro, the one he went to bat for. No, he could never be a Titan, right? This guy, he's the one who, he could never be that devious to be able to create this plan. He would never do anything like that, right? This is his big brother, as he calls him. He wanted to be just like him. And as soon as he finds out that he's a Titan, you would think there would be a major dilemma in a major moral dilemma in Eren's thinking. But no. He's either already gone through all of the steps he needed to be able to get that thought from gray to black or white, or he just processes, like we talked about, the ramifications of what it means if you're the Titan. Even if you're my best brother, if you're the one responsible for killing my mom, I loved you, but I love her way more. And he goes, you damn traitors, and goes super friggin' Saiyan and socks that guy immediately. There's no moral quandary with Eren in this case.
Yeah, and I think he wants to believe that Reiner is that big bro. Like, he's actually saying, ha ha ha, stop joking, you guys.
Yeah.
Like, there's that moment.
Yeah, in this episode.
Yeah, good stuff.
All right. So, any other burning spoilers? There's definitely a couple of things. I think we've already pretty much hit on all of them. Maybe the last one I'll just mention here is that we talked about them wanting to capture Eren. They do actually have to capture Eren. Like, that is literally one of their missions. Like, and when he says, you're the ones you're cornered, you're screwed now. It's kind of true, actually. Like, they don't make it out with Eren. Like he said, they've lost, but they've literally lost because they failed on their mission. So
you can't go back empty-handed after all that.
No, not after all that. Okay, so again, thank you for joining. Thank you for listening and watching. Can we just give it up for Daniel, the Titan, Yorkland? Thank you for coming back.
He's tall.
Thank you for making an appearance. So come join us again, obviously in the next episode, but come join us if you are a listener. Join us on Facebook or YouTube. You can watch the episodes there. And if you're on YouTube or Facebook and you want to hear this as a podcast, because it can be kind of annoying to watch, I know, like a long podcast on a YouTube thing, go to Spotify, go to iTunes. You can find us there. And if you're enjoying the show, and if you want to help us out, and you want other people to know about this great show, go to iTunes, leave us a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-star review, and say a few kind words of how awesome the show is and what you're liking about it. We appreciate it very much.
Yeah. We appreciate you guys joining the core, joining the squad, being part of the conversation, helping us grow, helping us reach each other, and together we can overcome Titanism.
With our power combined,
something cool happens.
All right, guys.
We are not Captain Planet.
We love you. We'll see you in the next episode. Thanks again for watching and listening. If you're enjoying the show, you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. If you're really loving it and you want some extra cool content, you can join our Patreon page over at patreon.com/beyondthebasementpodcast. Check the show notes or our social media pages for links to some really rad Attack on Titan merch. All right, guys. See you next time.